What do you mean? Do I miss it?
Did you miss it?
Was it in my background? Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. My name's Chanel. Welcome to Chanel's Reality. I'm Chanel, and this is my reality love. So, today I wanted to come and speak a little bit about Carmelo Anthony and the ongoing saga. So, today it's been announced that Carmelo has kind of a dream team of lawyers, so to speak, appellate lawyers who are going to hopefully help him be able to successfully secure an appeal that will go through the appellate court and actually give him another opportunity to try the case with an attorney that's competent and willing to help him as their client and not just sit there and get paid and do absolutely nothing. Well, seemingly. I wasn't there. I don't know none of these people. Everything on Chanel's Reality is, in my opinion, is for entertainment purposes only. It's all alleged. And so we're going to be using some other people's content, like reviewing their content. So fair use for the juice, so to speak. So let me just go ahead and post that up real quick. Like up the stream. You know what I'm saying for you, girl? Like up the stream for me. Support the channel. You can hit up Chanel's Reality Cash App if you want to support the channel. But let's get right into it. Let's see. Oh, I already had one up. Darn it. I already had it all queued up and didn't even realize it. Okay, let's see. Oh, well. Do we want to do Austin Metcalf's dad first? I don't know. Let's see.
Why do you know how much of this could be avoided if white people just didn't walk up to black people and ask what they were doing there? I don't care if it's Trayvon Martin. I don't care if it's Ahmaud Arbery. I don't care if it's this case. What makes you believe you have the right to walk up to somebody and ask them what they were doing there?
Yo, what's up? This bruh man from the fifth floor, and you tuned in to Forgotten Kings TV.
You people hang your hat on the dumbest shit I've ever seen.
Uh,
Let me make one up. Y'all can let me make something racist up so y'all can go viral. I got a new name for Mello, okay? Because he was such this little boy y'all were trying to portray. How about Watermelon Felon? How's that one strike you? I hope he enjoyed his first night in that cell last night. Because he's going to have many nights to think about what the fuck he did. I forgave him so I don't carry the hate and the anger.
Doesn't sound
so
like
I
it.
don't get ate up like
Doesn't sound
cancer
like it.
and kills you from the inside.
Kind of sounds like you're a hateful asshole. That's what it sounds like. Now, I'm going to give him grace because he is grieving the loss of his son. Regardless of how he may be responding, people respond to grief all kinds of ways. So, I'll give him that much. But that's all he's going to get. Because he's a whole crazy person. Just a whole entire crazy. Alexa, turn off the living room lights. Alexa, turn on living room lamps. I don't know if I like the lamps. Alexa, turn off living room lights. I don't even know. I know it's frustrating because it's like he's one of the first people to say, don't make this about race. And then you go on a whole YouTube rant and make it about race. Help me understand, because I don't get it. Let me see. Am I doing this wrong? No, I think I'm doing it wrong. Okay, maybe this. No. How did I have it before? Is it this? Yeah. Okay. So let's keep listening to this idiotic rant.
So while I can see tragedy all around, the horror of losing your child is unfathomable. But my question is this. In Texas, it has the highest concentration of black people, the biggest population of black people in the entire country. You had an all-white jury. You don't understand how problematic that is, because let's be clear, white juries have been the most judicious. They have let off a lot of people, white murderers, and they have convicted a lot of innocent black dudes. So let's not pretend like there's not a dubious reputation. You can't find any black people for the jury, but you miraculously can find black dudes on the football field or the baseball field or the basketball court. As I recall, the Southern region has the most concentration of the highest concentration, the largest population of black people in the country. Black people, by and large, have 60% of black people live in the South. And more particular, the state of Texas has more black people than anywhere in the country. You do not have a problem finding black people to play games, but you somehow manage to have a problem with sitting them on the jury. You will never ever see in this country, and I'd be willing to bet there's never been a situation where a white guy killed a black guy, and that white guy was charged by a black prosecutor, tried by a black judge, and had a all black jury give down the sentence. There's never going to be a reverse To Kill a Mockingbird, a reverse 12 Angry Men. And let me tell you something. Nobody's more angry than 12 black people who are not getting paid. They missing work to be at court. Even at that, you know how much of this could be avoided if white people just didn't walk up to black people and ask what they were doing there? I don't care if it's Trayvon Martin. I don't care if it's Ahmaud Arbery. I don't care if it's this case. What makes you believe you have the right to walk up to somebody and ask them what they were doing there? In this situation, it wasn't a coach who walked up to Carmelo Anthony. It wasn't an official. It wasn't a teacher. It was two 17-year-olds, the same age as him. What makes you believe you have the authority to question what somebody's doing there? You know how many things could avoid it if you just taught people to mind their own business? If your question to me is, why don't you teach black people or black children to respect authority? Why don't you discern who has it?
$35 years.
5 years.
In prison, right? After sitting in front of an all-white jury. That's been the topic of the conversation recently. Now, again, for those who may not know,
I mean, find the lie. Find the lie in what he said. Because I can't find the lie. Why is it almost 7 o'clock? Been working hard. I work hard for my money. Hang on one second, guys. It's a sad world we live in. I have a client who has a person in their family who's dying. And this client is beyond wealthy. You know, that top 1% they always talking about? That type of wealthy. And when I was visiting with one of the caretakers, the caretaker was basically like, These people will never understand. They love that man that's in the White House. They feel like, these are the things she said to me. They feel like the people that come across the border deserve to get paid what they get paid and work 3 times as hard. You know, they have no, they feel like there's a way you should look, um, in terms of, basically it's cut and dry. You either in or you out. You either look this way or you don't. So you either white or and you okay, or, and you right, or white and you not. I was sitting there in shock. Now I'm not in shock in the sense of like shock that people would think that way in 2026, but shocked that someone would be bold enough to say it out loud. You know, and the thing is, this particular person was kind of saying it quietly, even though we're in this massive area that's, when I say wealth, wealth. But I think the person maybe thought that they were like listening devices or something. I don't know. But the caretaker understands. I'm a social worker, so I understand. I deal with people in crisis all the time, right? Helping them manage their crises. Been doing it for 20 years. And this other person works in a similar capacity. Um, both of our professions require a license. But when you hear it come from the mouth of a person that's integrated into a family system that is, wealth is everywhere, privilege is everywhere. When you can pay $15,000 a month just to live somewhere like it's nothing, it's a different type of wealth. It's a different type of wealth. Because do you know how much $15,000 a month goes in Texas? I'm just saying. Just saying. Wealth, 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 wealth. But the people she was talking about, the people that are part of her family construct, they, from her mouth, are just like Austin Metcalf's father. Think just like that. We can buy the jury, we can buy the judge, we can buy the attorneys, we can buy the prosecution. Like, and we expect to get off. We expect to get a conviction. We expect to get the perfect jury. We expect the defense attorney to do absolutely nothing, to be literally asleep at the defense table. Just do enough to not legally get disbarred. Just saying. Let's see what else they're talking about.
Carmelo was sitting under a tent at a football game, I want to believe, a sporting event. During the rain delay, he knew someone under the tent. He sat under there for several minutes.
We don't need to go over that one. Let's see. Because we've heard that. Let's see. I thought this was the one, but maybe there's another one I found. Oh, yeah, this is the one. Okay, let's see. In the meantime and in between time, let me pull up this one. This little light of mine has been dim for quite some time. Oh, let me see. If you guys can see this, I want to make sure I have it pulled up right. No, I don't. Okay. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. I know I can't sing, y'all. Don't you worry about it. I'm aware. Hey, Roxy. Hey, boo. Hey. Alrighty. Let's get to it. Y'all go like up Trent Out Loud. He's like one of my favorite YouTubers. He's smart. He's intelligent. He's easy on the eyes. And he's seemingly a nice guy. So let's get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Avengers has assembled. Or in basketball terms, the dream team has come together. And you know I ran first to look if there was a woman on the team. And not only is there a woman, but a black woman. And if black women could put Joe Biden in the White House, a black woman could get Carmelo Anthony out of jail. I am going to give you the details of this assembled dream team. I'm also going to go over what they can appeal on, and then I'll explain to you why I think Carmelo Anthony will be walking out of jail a free man. Oh, and we also have an update on Jeff Metcalf, Austin Metcalf's racist daddy, and I've already proved to y'all that he's racist. He is now talking on Fox News yet again. Sit back, relax. I got a ton of things to tell you, and then I'll hand it off to y'all, the Out Louders, to let me know what you think in the comment section below. A team of leading appellate, civil rights, and criminal defense attorneys announced today that it has taken on the case of Carmelo Anthony, who was recently sentenced to 35 years following his unaliving conviction in the passing of Austin Metcalf. The team, serving pro bono, absolutely 100% free, will review the trial records and pursue all available avenues of appeal. I'm going to break that down for you guys in a second. Leading the efforts are Russell Wilson. Here he is right beside me. Shout out to Russell. Gary Bledsoe. Michael Ware, who is super key. I'm going to tell you about him in a sec. The superstar of the team, Brooke Claus from Benjamin Crump's law office. Sean and Justin. Our appellate team has been retained following the conviction to conduct a fresh, independent review of the trial records. We recognize the profound loss suffered by one man's family and the uncertainty facing another. And we extend our respect to everyone whose lives have been forever changed by these events. Our responsibility is to determine whether a legal error occurred and to ensure that every issue supported by the record is fully and vigorously represented on appeal. The appellate process exists for precisely these purposes.
Talk about Carmelo Anthony's legal team, the team that was put together to handle his appeal. Let's start with the lead counsel, Russell Wilson. When he worked at the DA's office, which was under Craig Watkins' administration, Craig Watkins was the first Black district attorney in Dallas County, breaking every kind of barrier. And the one barrier that was really prominent in his administration was the Conviction Integrity Unit. Dallas County became known nationally for their Conviction Integrity Unit because they were leading in the country for overturning wrongful convictions and exonerating innocent incarcerated individuals. Russell Wilson became the head of that division in 2011. Now let's talk about Mike Ware, because Mike Ware, when he was a prosecutor at the Dallas County District Attorney's Office in 2007, they founded the Conviction Integrity Unit that spearheaded Dallas County DA's office to lead the nation in overturning wrongful convictions or exonerations of innocent incarcerated individuals.
And now let me give you some background on Brooke, and you'll know why I'm so excited about her. Brooke serves as a litigation attorney and the chief of staff for Benjamin Crump. Those of you who've been following me for years, you know that Benjamin Crump helped me a little bit with me and my Nike battle. Benjamin Crump, yo, they don't play. Let me just try to tell you, they do not play. A skilled civil rights attorney and former public defender in Houston, Texas, she advocates for the disenfranchised and fights to safeguard her clients' equal protection under the law. Ms. Claus also provides legal commentary on employment discrimination and workplace equity, and has won several verdicts on several high-profiled civil rights cases. Trust me, Brooke is a beast. Now let's go over this appellate process. For those of you who've been following this channel daily, you know that we've been covering the details of this case, so please feel free to go on the page. I'm not going to, for my daily listeners, I'm not going to reiterate everything, okay? We do know one of the biggest grounds for appeal is the jury selection. We do know that there was 3 Black women educators that were dismissed by the prosecution. That alone right there is grounds for appeal. Well, I'm also going to cover a few other things, but I forgot to say one thing. For those of you who are on the side of Carmelo Anthony and think that he should be freed, I just want to be very clear. This does not mean a new trial. The appellate process, the appeal process is there to go through the entire procedures to make sure that there is no errors. So first, this dream team, the Avenger team that I'm calling them, they're going to go through all trial records and to see if there's any error. If there was an error made through any process, whether it be the jury, an objection, just any sort of thing, any sort of technical issue, that could be grounds for them to win the appeal. Depending on what the error is that they found, it could be error in sentencing, it could be error in jury, it could be error in evidence, it could be error in cross-examination, it could be a various amounts of errors. Depending on the error, they could overturn the sentencing, they could overturn the conviction, they could bring down the conviction from unaliving 1 to manslaughter to an even lesser charge. It could be brought down to a small charge that's a probation or a fine. There's so much things that could happen during the appeal process. What I think will probably happen is we'll get a new trial. That is what I think. It would be great if they could just have him completely exonerated, because for the people who've been following me, you know that I feel like there's a lot of grounds for self-defense. I'm not going to get into it now, but I have also made videos where I feel like there is some evidence that points to manslaughter, which is still, I feel, brings some comfort to the family and to the people who are on the Austin Metcalf side. And manslaughter is still admitting the fact that, yes, he unalived somebody and negating the self-defense claim. So whether it's self-defense or whether it's manslaughter or anything less, most of the times it will be a new trial, or it could just be brought down. So I hope that doesn't confuse you guys even more. I just want to let you know that there's no one direct line in appeal. A bunch of things could happen. I believe that he has a chance to walk a free man based on the fact that if they reduce the sentence, it will be time served because he's in there now. So his time will be served. And this appeal process is going to take at least a year. Even if they get it speedy, it'll be 6 months, 7 months. If he gets a lesser charge, he could just walk a free man if they bring down the charge. They get a new trial, that will even take even longer. So that's how the appeal process works. I just want to make that clear. Now let's go back to some facts and some speculation that I feel could change the outcome of the trial or bringing down the charges. We already talked about the jury. Let's talk about one thing that's a fact that nobody can dispute. In the testimony on prosecution and defense, nobody was able to specify exactly who was who in the video. It is so grainy. It is so far away. You cannot see in that video exactly who was who. Yes, there was video experts that were like, you could see Austin coming in here. Yes, that is actually Carmelo walking in here, running down the bleachers. But the exact interaction when the incident happened, nobody can determine who is who and who is who in that picture. Testimony, yes, for the people underneath the tent can say, oh, Austin was there and this person was there, but we cannot see that in the video. But we can all agree with that, okay? Here is what is some, and by the way, that part of that video can be brought back up in the appeal process. Now, here is a lot of speculation that I feel could also be brought up during appeal. Austin, there has been some, I think 2 people that have said that Austin Metcalf fell onto Carmelo, and when Carmelo had the knife in his hand and he fell onto him. The knife is 3.5 inches long. The wound inside Austin's chest was 2 inches. If you're plummeting into somebody like that, why wouldn't the whole 3.5 go? If somebody pushes, or if he trips, or there's a fight or pushing and shoving, and he falls onto it, and it's not so much that he pushed it into him, that would explain the 2-inch wound and it not being a 3.5.
So that's what irritated me from the beginning when I heard the arguing remarks or opening remarks of the prosecution, right? I'm like, they're like, oh, Carmelo plunged the knife into Austin's chest. I'm like, I need y'all to stop. I know that's fancy, manipulation talk from an attorney. And I know the point of the prosecution is to create a situation where the jury does nothing but find the alleged perpetrator or suspect guilty. But I feel like they have a duty to be truthful about what actually happened, right? And what I mean by that is tell the truth about what actually the jury is going to see. Tell the truth about the actual videotape that they saw. There is nothing. And so to me, and I'm not an attorney, but to me, that's grounds right there for an appeal. You're saying that Carmelo plunged this knife or weapon or multi-tool into Aunt Austin, rest his soul in peace, chest. How do you know that? Do you have Carmelo on video doing that? You have it on a clear video showing that the suspect was actually, the accused was actually plunging a knife into this victim's chest? Because if so, we want to see the tape. And his attorney should have demanded that. Even if Carmelo, and we heard him say, yeah, I did it, whatever the case may be. But even if we hear him say that, what did your eyes see? Because the last time I checked, you're supposed to be proving this beyond a reasonable doubt. And we have a video, but it doesn't show that. It doesn't even show clearly who did what. Not clearly. Now, you can see some footage of where it appears that Carmelo is sitting down, but again, it's not clear. You see that there are multiple people standing up around, and then you see him, you see like a struggle of some sort, and then you see what appears to be Carmelo running off. Hey, Candy Cane. That's what you see. So I don't know how you could convict someone based on what you saw when none of it's clear, unless they have special technology that can make it clearer, which my guess is that there is some sort of special technology that can make it clearer. Why do I feel that way? It's because they got satellites that can literally read your cell phone. So you telling me we can't make a clearer picture? I doubt it. Isn't that what all these fancy cameras, these fancy phones tell us about? It's always about the camera, the camera, the camera. But this footage didn't look so good. And you know, whenever there's a police brutality video where we can see the police either brutally harming someone or unaliving someone, the people who want to support the police's narrative always say, we got to wait and see. Let's look at the video. And then when they don't agree with it, then it's like, well, we don't know what happened before. Why are we not giving this young man the benefit of the doubt of what happened before? Because the way the prosecution played it is basically Carmelo was under the tent. He wasn't supposed to be there. He was asked to leave. He didn't leave. And then Austin pushed him. And for the record, since the prosecution wants to have a way with words and say, oh, he plunged the knife into his chest, then call what Austin did its actual legal term, which is assault. Let's call it what it is. He assaulted him. Oh, it was just a shove. Oh, it wasn't the same level of force. How do you know? I'm 5 foot solid, soaking wet, right? If someone 5'8", which isn't very tall, is standing over me talking shit, and I'm in their house, meaning all of the people around me are with them or know them, that's a level of intimidation. I don't give a fuck how bad you think you are. It's a level of intimidation. It is what it is. And then people on the internet and in the media and on social media and whatever, they would have you believe, oh no, he had to believe that, you know, he was in danger, and just a push isn't going to make you believe you're in danger. Well, yes, it will when you add all the elements. First of all, you assaulted me when you touched me. Unlawful touching is assault, period. Full stop. So you assaulted me. You telling me I got to leave. It's likely that you're threatening me. You got your goons around me or other people around me that's also probably ignorant on, because let's just be real. Men always on the internet talking about how logical they are, but they can't control themselves under a tent. Am I supposed to believe y'all so logical? And I ain't saying men aren't logical, but I'm just saying the ones that get on the internet talking about how logical they are, they just don't show the proof of it. So again, people and all their emotions, especially males that say they don't have, we ain't working off our emotions. Here's another case of somebody working off their emotions. And like D.L. Hughley said earlier, all of this could be avoided if you don't come into a tent bothering people. None of this had to happen. People want to sit and say what Carmelo did, but none of it had to happen. He wasn't there being violent. He wasn't even there talking shit to people. At least that's not what the witnesses said. They say he was the aggressor, but at what stage did you come in? Context matters. What do they say? Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. So I would love to know how the prosecution can say he plunged this knife into this young man's chest. He wasn't there, just like we wasn't there. But you got this high level of certainty, so high that you're in the courtroom stating it like it's a fact, when you have absolutely zero, not a scintilla of proof. Now, people could say they saw somebody shoot somebody, they saw somebody hit somebody, they saw somebody do this, that, and the third. But research says a lot of eyewitness testimony isn't even honestly accurate. That's not to say that none of it's accurate, but a lot of times people don't remember what they remember. Meaning, I remember I watched a documentary and they were talking about people who was doing what they thought they were doing and where they thought they were and what they thought they saw and what actually happened on 9/11. And then when you go back and try to verify those facts, it's provable, but that their memory is inaccurate. It's false. And especially in a situation that's violent. I don't understand why Carmelo Anthony's attorney didn't bring in some sort of expert on, to really kind of break down those stand your ground laws, really break down that whole proportionate force situation. Why you didn't bring somebody in there to actually prove that, someone could use proportionate force? But like I said, so what if my proportionate force, what if Carmelo's proportionate force that people keep talking about is him just leaning on somebody, just smacking them as hard as he could, knocking them all the way out? And what if Austin had some sort of brain swelling disorder or blood clot disorder that he know about? What if he had an aneurysm that he didn't know about, right? You hit him with proportionate force, but he never wakes up. He dies as a result of his injuries. Are we running around the internet and on the media then talking about proportionate force? Probably not. What if I'm Carmelo Anthony, right? I'm 5 foot, 167 pounds, and I'm under your tent. You coming talking big balls, this, that, and the third. You 200 pounds, 6'3", 6'4", right? You threaten me, tell me to get my ass out of here, whatever there was the conversation. Then you assault me. I'm your child. What do I do? What do you tell me to do to protect myself? You on the jury. Are you putting me away for 35 years? I'm a female. He assaulted me. He had his friends around me threatening me. What do you do? You put me in jail for 35 years? We want to talk about proportionate force then? Now, I know that the law says that for a reason, right? But we got to stop acting like we dumb. Stop intentionally pretending like we don't understand what the hell is going on. Stop acting like this young man got a fair trial. Candy Cane says, do you think this new team of lawyers is really going to be able to get him out? I hope so. I don't think the new team of attorneys' purpose is to get him out. I think the new team's of attorneys' purpose is to get him an appeal, get an appeal approved. And then once they can get, a appellate judge to approve the appeal and he can get a new trial, then I think there'll probably be another set of lawyers. And hopefully that GoFundMe money is still around, because I think you only have a year to use that money, I think. And then it starts sending all the money back to whoever gave it. So I think, though, context matters. People don't give a shit and don't care about, AIDS until their sister is dying of AIDS. People don't care about crime until their brother is shot. People don't care about, underage drinking and alcohol use or whatever you want to call it until their daughter overdoses. And in this case, people don't care about a 19-year-old young man who was trying to protect himself in a hostile situation where he was physically assaulted. And now, because of the result of someone assaulting him and him defending himself, he's possibly going to be in jail for 35 years. They don't think about, okay, well, if it was me, what would I tell my 17-year-old to do? What would I tell my 17-year-old son to do? Let somebody punk you? Because you might end up in jail for 35 years? Or should we be teaching our children to not try to bully other people and then you won't end up dead? I'm not talking about the child. I'm talking about the adults. So don't get it twisted. But which one is more effective? Teaching your children how to exercise restraint, how to talk to people in a respectful manner, how to be assertive, or how to run away. Because that's what everybody, oh, he should have ran away. He should have walked away. He should have left. They say the same bull to Black people when they're unalived. Instead of respecting the dead like they want us to do, which I will always do, but like they want us to do in this situation, right? They want us to respect the dead. He's the victim, so he should be left to rest in peace, which I agree with. But apply that across the board. Stop talking about when a young Black person is unalived by the police officer, he should have comply. Maybe the police officer shouldn't be gun happy, trigger happy, or whatever it's called. Maybe we should train them properly. Maybe we should teach our children to be assertive. An assertive basically means respect others while also commanding respect for yourself. Not being passive, not being aggressive. That's what we should be teaching our children. If you really want to keep it a buck. If you really want to avoid these type of situations. But instead of doing that, we would like to play this ring around the rosy game of, oh, what if he would have just listened? What if he would have complied? What if he would have not challenged the young man? He didn't have to push him back. What if he would have just pushed him back? And what if he would have got stomped out and died? We asking that question too? Because I can promise you, if Carmelo had gotten stomped out, died, ended up in a coma, ended up as a vegetable, ended up with whatever, people would have said, well, they still would have blamed him. What were you doing there? Why were you in that under the bench? Why didn't you leave? I mean, under the bleacher, the tent. Why didn't you leave? They still would have blamed him. Stop acting like this young man wouldn't have gotten blamed either way. Let's see. Let's say Austin Metcalf attacked him, and as a result, Carmelo ends up unalived. What do you think would have happened in this country if there was an all-white jury? I'm sorry, an all-Black jury, Black prosecutor, Black defense attorney, and Black judge. You think they would have said, oh, that's a jury of his peers? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's a jury of his peers. It's a jury of his... You think they would have said that? Or do you think they would have been like, y'all outside y'all rabbit ass mind to think that this is going to be fair? This is what I mean by stop playing dumb. Acting like you don't understand. Of course you understand. Acting like we don't understand that this country has a dark issue and a dark history with race. Oh, racism doesn't exist anymore. For who? It's not about race. It's not about race. Yet then the victim's dad comes out, says it's not about race, and then names Carmelo a watermelon felon. That's not about race. But we supposed to believe the county that it came from, this crime happened in, the jury, the judge, all of the people. None of these people are biased in any way. That's what we're supposed to believe. Stop playing and trying to tap dance on my intelligence. We know better. We're intelligent. Black people are an intelligent, resilient group of people. It's just a fact. Y'all can believe what y'all want, but that's a fact. Does every population of people in the Black community act that way? No. But overall, we're that group of people. It's just a fact. Let's finish listening to Trent out loud.
That's something that could be explored. There's also, did Austin give him a light push? Was it an aggressive push? Was it a punch? That's to be determined. Was Carmelo approached, attacked, agitated, aggressed by 4 boys? We know with the video, there were 6 that came into the track meet, 2 went off, and there was 4. through testimony underneath the tent, whose testimony from all of Austin Metcalf's friends and people from his school, which is obviously going to say everything in Austin's favor.
Right. Exactly.
Even Eddie, who is Carmelo's friend, doesn't want to say the truth because Eddie was like, I don't even know him. I don't even know who Carmelo is. Come to find out that, yes, there's pictures and you guys were hanging out. Again, sorry if you guys don't know the details, but I'm sure most of you know by now. So the testimony from the prosecution is one thing, but those are all testimony from Austin Metcalf's friends and the kids in his school. And those kids, even if they don't like Austin, they don't want to go back to school and be ostracized. So they're all going to come together and tell the story. And this is the whole point of the appeal, and the whole point of why some people are so upset is the people who witnessed it are all Austin's schoolmates and all Austin's friends. We have a grainy video. You can't tell who is who. So how do we know? How is a jury able to determine unaliving one with that kind of information and that kind of grainy video? Here's another thing. All of those teenagers that are around that have cell phones, at the minute there's somebody that raises their voice, kids these days bring out their phone and start recording. You're telling me that there was no kid under there that took out their phone and recorded this incident? And we do know that this incident didn't happen in a split second. There was arguing back and forth. They were yelling, "What are you doing under here? Get from under here." There's reports that Carmelo was like, "Yo, touch me and find out." Yo, you can take out your phone, you access your camera, boom, I'm here, I'm recording right now. It just took me 2 seconds. So you're telling me a bunch of teenagers are around and two boys are yelling at each other and nobody brings out their phone to record it? There has been conversation of one boy, I'm not mistaken if this was in testimony, but we do know that there's some sort of fact, if I'm not mistaken, that one boy said, "Yo, I had my phone out and but I wasn't recording. I was only pretending to record." Who takes out their phone and pretends to record? So there is the speculation that there is some video evidence out there from cell phone from Austin Metcalf's friends that they erased. This is basically what I'm alluding to. There's conversation that there is cell phone footage a lot closer to the incident. And that's why some people are saying, "Oh, he fell onto the knife," but we don't have that. Why? Because they know to delete that because they don't want that evidence to be played in court. They just want that grainy video. These are all the things that are going to be looked into. These 21 or...
I wonder if there is a more clear video. I have a hard time believing there's not. I believe that there is a clear video. I wonder. Okay, let's keep listening.
22 people who testified, "Yo, we want to see that your cell phone. We want to have access to your data. We want to have access to your iCloud." Y'all know nothing really gets deleted these days, even when you do delete it. There's these forensic people up top in a case like this. They could get to your stuff. So those are just a few things. I mean, I could go on and on, but those are a few things. If you ask me, the jury is the easiest one. Why were 3 Black women who are educators, who not better than educators, to be on a jury? You want to take off 2 of them? Okay, why not even leave 1? What are the grounds for that, sir? We will get to that. Okay, that is the appeal. I want to now play a video of Austin Metcalf's father, Jeff Metcalf. He is going on Fox News, and he's talking about Carmelo. He's talking about Carmelo's parents. And I want you guys to notice something. He is now trying to make Carmelo's parents look horrible, try to look like they were the ones that brought race into.
HTX says, Colombian says, Ratchet TV has the video in 4K as well. Oh, interesting. Thanks.
This and publicize this, but why I want to play this for you is that you can see the snake that he was from the beginning, because he is trying to say before the trial even started, he wanted to pray with Carmelo's parents. He wanted to come together and, have a kumbaya moment.
Ciao.
And it was in a press conference where somebody was like, yo, we should kick him out. And he's like, oh, they kicked me out when I was trying to be a nice person. And at that time, we don't know why he got kicked out. We don't know why Carmelo's parents decided to not have that kind of relation. But now we know, because I played for you guys last week where Jeff Metcalf is calling Carmelo watermelon felon and talking about 400 years ago and about Black people and how we came to this country and being sold and this, and the evidence of him being a full-blown racist. Okay. We also know that Jeff Metcalf also has a criminal past. He has an SA charge.
Ooh.
Listen to him now trying to get in the media and tear down Carmelo Anthony's parents. Remember the video I played for you, his racist rant. Look at it compared to this.
I was hoping we could show the world this wasn't a racial divide thing, that we could kind of close the gap instead of widening it. But at that point, they'd obviously retained the services of Dominic Alexander, who decided to throw me out of the press conference, had me removed by police, and then proceeded to gaslight me and tell me that I shouldn't have been there and it was not dignified. That's when they took it from any type of remorse, which they did not show, to the fact of now we're going to play the race card.
And your goal that day was to simply get together and pray?
Yeah, I was actually hoping to show them, hey, look, man, I know what happened was terrible and your son made a horrible mistake. I was hoping for some accountability maybe and some remorse. Neither one was shown.
Have you ever spoken to the Anthonys?
No.
Y'all sound off below. I just gave you a ton of information. Let me know what you think about the dream.
Like I said, guys, go and like up his video, Mr. Trent Out Loud. He's one of those people that I feel like are more fair and balanced than everybody else sometimes can be. Let me see. I'll share this one. Okay.
Time and would admit that he was the one that did it. Now, as we've been covering the story, many Black users who empathize with Anthony would be vocal about their support even before seeing exactly what happened. So on Friday, when footage of the stabbing would finally be released of the incident, many now wondered what those same people now feel. In the grainy footage shot from an overhead camera on the opposite side of the stadium they were in, you can somewhat put together the story. At one point, you see Carmelo enter the other team's tent during this rainy day at the track meet. Now, according to reports, his team did not have a tent set up, and he and his team members were asked to leave a baseball dugout where they were getting shelter just before he would go under the now infamous tent. Now, as the video continues, it appears that Anthony begins talking to someone he knew for the next several minutes. According to reports, that would be Eddie Para, a student who was a part of the school whose tent he sat under. Now, what is not yet understood is if Metcalf and his brothers were already there. But looking at the footage, it appears that Metcalf would later enter the shot and, according to reports, would notice that he did not recognize Anthony and began to ask Anthony to leave their tent. This is when it appears that a back and forth would take place, and by looking closely, you can then see Metcalf shove Anthony. Now, according to reports, Anthony would warn Metcalf just before being pushed, "Touch me and see what happens," as he reached in his bag. Now, in response, Metcalf would allegedly think Anthony was bluffing and would respond with, "You don't have anything in that backpack," before he would push Anthony to get out. Now, from the looks of the footage, Anthony's response would be quick, and you can make out him instantly striking Metcalf before running from the tent. But he would later then walk back towards the tent after it appears that he realized what he did. Carmelo would soon after be apprehended by police. As mentioned, many Black users who have been following the case will go on to share their reaction in seeing the footage and evidence for the first time.
Y'all owe that man daddy a fucking apology. And then the fact that he tried to walk and blend in with the crowd, There's y'all answer to why the fuck he was initially. It was no trying to be lenient on him. He knew exactly what the fuck he was doing when he did that shit. That 35. Yeah. What I get it, boy? Get y'all money back.
It's gonna be a lot more people coming out and apologizing on this Carmelo Anthony case, because what I could map out, unless I just saw wrong, because it was blurry, it was, but he wasn't getting jumped. There wasn't multiple people ganging up on him. It wasn't no long fight. What I felt like I could see when you zoomed in was Austin pushed him and immediately got poked.
You know what would have happened if that white boy went to an HBCU game and he sat up under some...
Candy Cane says, Chanel, do you know who Ratchet TV is? Yes, I actually do know who Ratchet TV is. Just curious. Yeah, I know who he is. I watched him. I think I found him during the Diddy trial or right before the Diddy trial or something like that. No, I think I found him when Jay-Z got accused of essaying that 13-year-old. And he was saying that if I'm remembering correctly, and again, everything on Chanel's Reality is alleged, and it's in my opinion for entertainment purposes only, because I don't know none of these people. I wasn't there. But if I'm remembering correctly, he was saying that like he was getting calls and messages from like people who he thought were maybe sent from Jay-Z, if I remember correctly. But I feel like I was watching something the other day and they were saying that the guy at Ratchet TV was saying like I don't know if it's anti Carmelo Anthony or if he felt like he got, fair, like everything with the case was fair, or, there was no issue for him. I can't remember exactly what they were saying, but the guy I remember, and I didn't watch him a lot. He seemed fair and balanced, but I don't know. Anywho, let's keep listening. Why, Candy? Should I know more?
My tent, they would have welcomed him. After boy went to an HBCU game,
Austin pushed him and immediately got poked.
you know what would have happened if that white boy went to an HBCU game and he sat up under somebody's tent? They would have welcomed him. Laugh with him, joke with him. Even if he had the opposing jersey on, they would have poked fun at him every time their team scored. Like, it would have been that. Y'all swear we negative and violent and criminals, but we are also welcoming. You come over to our side, we invite you to the cookout, you do a little dance, we easy to please. We come to y'all side, y'all disrespecting us. Nasty with it. Racial slurs and all that. What's up with that?
What I told y'all, baby. Carmelo Anthony was wrong. Carmelo Anthony was guilty. Carmelo Anthony made a bad mistake and he made a bad decision. It wasn't self-defense and the video came out. I told y'all. He didn't get jumped. I told y'all. Carmelo Anthony didn't get jumped. The proof is there. I told y'all. Y'all thought I was lying.
Now, despite the footage's release, some online users have still chosen to support Anthony's self-defense claim, and all agree that Metcalf appears to be the aggressor in the situation.
I thought y'all said it wasn't self-defense. I thought y'all said it was a light push. I didn't see nothing light about that. This is grainy, but I'm still able to see what's going on. See, cameras don't lie. I've been saying that this entire time. Cameras do not lie. So when is this retrial going to happen? You guys think he's going off scot-free? Oh, by the way, the judge retired. The judge just retired. I want people to defend this. I want people to defend Austin Metcalf at this point.
That sounds like self-defense to me, sweetheart. Clear as fucking day. He touched me. Touch me and see what happens in the Black community is a warning. You have crossed the boundary into my personal space. And if you don't remove yourself, somebody is liable to get hurt. That is not a threat. That is a warning. You know why white folks don't understand that warning? Is because they're usually the ones giving the threat. That's why the prosecution said that was a threat. He made a threat towards Austin Metcalf. No, Austin Metcalf did not know what a boundary was. Like most 3x5 cards. This needs to go back in. We need another trial, okay, baby? With the judge abruptly trying to leave, with Austin Metcalf's dad getting on the internet and calling Carmelo Anthony a watermelon felon, an all-white jury? No, retrial. That appeal needs to, we need a, that, boys, self-defense.
Many of y'all are seeing the leaked video. Like we had told y'all, when you see the video, you're absolutely going to understand why we are saying self-defense. You can see everything that all those people who signed that document to see that video, their story matches up with what you see in that video. It also matches up what Hunter said in that first interview last year. He said they were the ones who approached Carmelo. They were the ones who sought him out. You see them walk into the frame off the street, going to seek him out. The fact that now the video is being leaked when they said that, you know, people probably would not see the video is wild and crazy work. But it was real funny that they released the video on Juneteenth like that was going to do something. If that video was to prove that Carmelo was the aggressor, it would have been released last year.
As of now, Carmelo has since filed an appeal and would ask the court to assign him with an attorney due to not having any.
You know what? That's a whole fact. Because what I know to be actually true about these United States of America is that if the suspect is black and they don't have a photo, them mofos will get a sketch artist. Okay, they gonna sketch something together. They gonna find something. The other thing that I know to be a fact, if Carmelo had a scintilla of anything wrong, negative that he had ever done, that all would have been everywhere. All over the news and the media. It would have been all over social media. Do you know he used to smoke weed? Do you remember that time in 3rd grade when he hit that other little boy? Like, do you know his parents are convicts? Like, it would have been something. Mama was a teenage, mom. Dad had went to, he stole a Snickers when he was 15. Like, it would have been an attack, an assault on this young man's character and his whole entire family. But since they couldn't find anything, they're like, well, let's find something wrong with his extended family. Like, it's what do you mean? I cannot. But what she said is absolutely true. Now, the thing that I will say, I can't say is absolutely true. When she said that, the four young men that walked there, the 4 teens that walked into the stadium or whatever, were there to go and, pick a fight with him. That part, I don't know if that's true, because how will we know? How do you know the state of mind, right? You only know what someone says to you. You don't know what they're thinking. So I don't know that that's accurate or whatever like that. But I think the reason people think that is because just from what we've seen on the video, it appears that they come walking in and they go to where he is. Now, on one hand, somebody could say, yeah, they went there to pick a fight, or they went there to be like, yo, you got to go. On the other hand, you could be like, well, they came there and they just were there for the sporting event, just like everybody else, and then decided to pick a fight. So we don't know that to be true. But what I'm saying is, my whole point of this video is, he has a new set of attorneys that are appellate attorneys to try to get Carmelo's appeal approved. That's what the new attorneys are there to do. Once that happens and he can get a new trial, hopefully he can get a fair jury and people who understand that things are not what they seem, people who can see that there is doubt there. Because my thing is, how can you be on a jury with a grainy video, even if he says, you know what, I did, stab him, but he was, you know what I'm saying? He attacked me. The young man, Carmelo, said when he was walking with the police officer, he put his hands on me. Listen, I believe him. I do. The reason I believe him is not to say that somebody can't have this one lapse in judgment, but usually aggressive people have aggressive histories. It's just a fact. Usually aggressive people have aggressive behaviors. It's just a fact. I go back again. If they had found a scintilla of evidence where this young man was fighting on people, constantly getting into it with the teachers, aggressive behavior, fighting with his mom and dad, problem child, any of that, fighting even with his teammates, they would have, I can promise you, they went and they interviewed everybody they could. Because the prosecution has to be able to prove a case to a jury. Unless the jury is completely 100% biased. Unless the jury has nobody in that jury that is a jury of his peers. And people are like, oh, it doesn't have to be a jury of his peers in terms of his color or his gender or whatever. Y'all telling me if you're a man, you thinking you're going to get a jury of your peers is all women? It's women that live in your county. It's women that vote in your county or your state or wherever you are. That's not a jury of your peers? That wouldn't be a jury of your peers? All women? If you're a woman, a jury of your peers would be all men? What about, let's just put you a 52-year-old man, a jury of your peers is all people who are 19? Probably not. You're going to find all kinds of problems with that jury. But again, people act like they act stupid. They act like they don't understand. You know, it's like gaslighting. They act like they don't understand why we as brown people have a problem with the jury selection. Like, what are you talking about? And then it's like, let's blame the black people. Well, if y'all would vote, if y'all registered to vote, shut the hell up. Registered to vote or not. That is not a jury of his fucking peers, and y'all know it. He was 17 when that happened. How the hell is this a jury of his peers? Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I don't even believe anybody in that jury was under the age of 20 or probably even under the age of 30. They're not even anywhere close to these young men's age to be able to say they understand. Nowhere. It's annoying. It's a bit annoying, but here we are. I get worked up. I get a little worked up. You know what I'm saying? Let's continue to listen.
Money to hire one. However, in the most recent updates surrounding the story, Anthony and his family have now hired their own appeal attorney, as the attorney they were given would share with News Nation that he no longer represents Carmelo. As of this report, Anthony has begun serving his 35-year prison sentence in a Texas correctional facility, and for safety has been put in isolation. Let's talk about it more in the comments below. Now that you've seen the footage, has it changed your position, and do you see Carmelo having the right to claim self-defense?
I wonder, like, you know, like if we go back and watch that video just at the end, it wasn't like a gunshot. How they all spread that quickly is very interesting to me. Let's rewatch it.
Let's talk about it more in the comments below. Yeah. Now that you've seen the footage, has it changed your position?
Let me watch the footage one more time.
Safety has been put in isolation. Let's talk about it more in the comments below. Now that you've seen the footage, has it changed your position, and do you see Carmelo having the right to claim self-defense?
Just looks like a lot of people spread very quickly out of nowhere. It's very interesting to me. All righty, I have, I think, one or two more videos. Let's see. I think I watched these. Did I watch Mr. Metcalf's dad? Let's see what this one has to say.
Lying through his teeth. Oh my goodness. So I gotta admit, this guy has gotta be the worst father known to man. I mean, think about it. He's such a bad father. And I would go even further and say he's a bad person. Oh my goodness. So I gotta admit, this guy has gotta be the worst father known to man. I mean, think about it. He's such a bad father. And I would go even further and say he's a bad person, genuinely a bad person. Because think about it. He is always speaking alone, always. You'll never see his wife or Hunter with him. It is always him by himself. So all the rumors of him getting into fights with his son, for him being a garbage human being, it seems to be that there's some weight to those rumors. Damn. That being said, I've never in my life seen a father who expresses his remorse by constantly being in front of the camera, right? Every chance he gets, he's doing an interview, he's doing a podcast. If those aren't available, he'll go on TikTok, because we just had him do a complete racist rant on TikTok, talking about his son, talking about black people, watermelon felon, all this just racist drivel. And here he is. Where is he? On Fox News. Now, I know what you're thinking. Lucas, well, surely they asked him about his TikTok, right? Surely they're going to probably, run obstacle for him and say, were you under the influence and yada, yada, yada. Nope. Throughout this entire interview, it's not brought up, not even once. It's not even hinted at it. And what makes this so egregious, what makes this interview so diabolical is that he is standing on his son's demise, bruh. The body ain't even cold yet, really. Well, maybe it is, but that's besides the point. He is standing on his son's demise. This is his claim to fame. This is how he views it, bro. Being in front of the cameras, doing all these interviews. This is how he mourns his son. This is how he celebrates, his son's life. You still have a son, bro. You still have Hunter that at least you have a chance to go and raise properly, not to be a bully like Austin. But getting into this interview, because I digress with his character, he talks about, hey, this has nothing to do about race. And you want to know what really made it about race was an incident where they kicked me out of the press conference.
You know the moment this became more than simply a horrible tragedy and a crime story in North Texas, where it became this larger thing, and it was that press conference.
Yes, sir. I do believe that was probably one of the turning points. I was there to show up to pray. I was hoping we could show the world this wasn't a racial divide thing, that we could kind of close the gap instead of widening it.
An absolute bona fide lie. Because you want to know when this had to deal with race? It had to deal with Jake Lane. Black people didn't make this about race. They constantly talk about, we make this about race. We've never historically made anything about race.
That's true. That's true.
You guys have made it about race, all right? And we see even presently when it comes to Jake Lane. Jake Lane was the first person to try and make this racial, right? He's the first person to try to get Jeff Metcalf to denounce black crime and black people and all this. That's what he did.
My position, not even as somebody even knew your son, but somebody that it shares the same understanding. I grew up as a 17-year-old young white man too, and I grew up in fear of my life around black people because they were killing and robbing people around me all the time. And I don't understand, as I was a father, you could sit idly by and not condemn the culture that killed your son. There is an epidemic problem in this country, and your voice could be one of the loudest voices in this country, but you've chosen to recoil out of fear and continue the suppression.
Beta! And Jeff Metcalf was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not making it racial. And he called him, I believe he called him a traitor or a coward.
Okay, me to speak. You are part of the fucking problem, my friend. You're trying to create more race divide than bridging the gap. I do not condone anything you do. You do not have any fucking...
That's called white guilt.
That's what Jeff Lang did, right? Jake Lang did. That's what he did. It had nothing to do with the Anthonys. It had nothing to do with who they hired. That had nothing to do with making it racial. Jake Lane was the first person to make it racial, as he's been doing for all the cases, whether it's Shud the Builder, making a fool out of himself. That's what he's been doing, as we can see with all the other pundits. So to try and blame this racialization, this politicizing of your son's demise on black people it's not only disgusting, not only a lie, not only racist, but really? It gets to a point like, really? We're just bold-faced lying? You're talking about politicization of your son's demise while on Fox News? Huh? Then I love it because he constantly trying to say, oh, this isn't about color. We don't see color. It's all about the content of your skin and everything.
I mean, I'd say half the team are blacks. I mean, we don't see color. So all I see is character in people. I don't care what color you are.
This is a classic white people. Somebody, Mr. Metcalf, come to the front. Come to the front. In fact, bring your whole ass community to the front. When you say we don't see color, that's like saying, as a woman, I can't see that my husband is a man. Of course I can. What are you talking about? It's so ignorant. It's like, okay, y'all had to stop. Y'all got to stop that. We don't live in 1949 where people didn't know what to say. That they wanted. That's their way of saying, in my opinion, that I see us as the same. But we're not the same. We're all human, but we are not treated the same. We don't feel the same. We don't act the same. We have the same abilities, but we don't have the same rights in the way that you do. We don't have the same privileges in the way that you do. Yeah, legally we do, but we don't. It's interesting how something can be true and false at the same fucking time. It's the privilege of it all. You, Mr. Metcalf, and your community have the privilege of not understanding what it's like when you hear somebody say something so stupid. Like, I don't see color. We don't see color. You know what that says to me? For the white people that I'm gonna get the benefit of the doubt, because everybody isn't like this idiot, right? But for the ones that I'll give the benefit of the doubt, I think they're just trying to say, I don't see you as different than me, to the point where I would treat you differently. But you absolutely see us as different, no matter what. Just like I absolutely see my husband as a male, no matter what. No matter what. He's different than me. We're both human, we're both black, but he's different than me. Y'all got to stop it. So for the Metcalf guy, I'm not giving him that same benefit of the doubt that I'm giving all the other, white people that have common sense, that are not running around being racist, avoiding or acting like they don't see racist shit, not calling out the racism, like, acting as if it doesn't exist. Now I'm talking about Mr. Metcalf. When he says we don't see color, I don't see color, to me, that's a dog whistle that I absolutely see all your damn color, all your raggedy color, and I can't stand you and your people. But I don't want anybody to say that I'm racist, so I'm going to just say I don't see color. How can you not see color? That's like saying I can't see that a child is different from an adult. Of course I can. Of course you can see that a child is different from an adult. You can. You know that they're both human, but they're different. You know, and you see Carmelo is black, as a black boy. And you can't get on the news and say, I don't see color, but say the most racist things like watermelon felon. And then say, oh, I'm a cloak it in. Oh, I'm just saying this to incite. So y'all really want some racism? Y'all really want some racism? Here, I'm going to create something. No, you didn't just create something. That's something that was already there. You just want to be able to say, oh, no. That was a misunderstanding. I just did that so that I could, since they want to talk about race, so I just threw out something. No, that's how you already felt. Which, in my opinion, is why your children were under that tent bothering Carmelo, harassing him, and then attacking him, assaulting him. Listen, my education tells me that children that are bullies, people that are bullies, are usually already bullied at home. That's a learned behavior. You don't get that out of nowhere. Children don't come out just bullying people, isolating one person, trying to make them feel bad, trying to threaten them, trying to make them feel intimidated. You don't come out that way. You're taught that. So my guess is he's a bully. He taught his children to be bullies. And unfortunately, one of his children died as a result. Allegedly. Let's keep going.
How about watermelon felon? How's that one strike you?
Fam, bruh, we saw who you are behind the scenes, bruh. We saw that the first thing you did after Carmelo was sentenced, we saw what you did. You went to go to TikTok and make a whole racial rant. I don't want to hear this colorblind nonsense. I don't want to hear this, oh, we just see the content of your character. Yeah, you guys have been showing your content of your character for all this time. Damn. This entire time, we have been judging you off of the content of your character. When I say the lineage of evil, that's not about color. It's not because you're less melanated. No, that's because the content of your character is evil. It's corrupt, right? You've come here to kill, steal, and destroy. That's why you're the part of the lineage of evil. Do you understand? It has nothing to do about color. And you're the only group that has made this about color. Always, historically in this country, it's always been the only thing we had to judge you off of was the content of your character. That's the only thing Black people have been allowed to judge you demons off of, is the content of your character.
He's out of line, but he's right.
But you want to know what really got me in this interview? You know, you have those moments in time where someone says something just so profoundly stupid, so profoundly ignorant that it takes a breath right out of you. You just have to go, wow, just wow, bruh. And that's when he's talking about, because the guy, I forgot his name, the Fox host interviews, asked him, hey, have the Carmelo Anthonys, have the Anthonys reached out to you? Have they been remorseful? And he's talking about, no, I haven't talked to them. You know, they have shown no remorse, haven't apologized at all.
I was hoping for some accountability maybe and some remorse. Neither one was shown.
Have you ever spoken to the Anthonys?
No.
No apology, no remorse?
Nothing.
Glad to hear it.
And I'm just like, why on earth? Let's use, our brain cells, bruh. Why on earth would a family whose son, who has professed to have defended himself, his claim is self-defense, why would they apologize? You should be apologizing to Carmelo Anthony's family, fam.
Thank you.
Do you not understand? That's not how self-defense works, okay? If I'm arguing, hey, I defended myself, right, from this aggressor, from this hostile actor, I don't apologize to the family because the person who attacked me winds up in the next dimension. That's not how that works. You should be apologizing to the Carmelo Anthonys for raising such a hostile, aggressive, low impulse control son. All your son had to do was mind his business. That's all your son had to do. All your son had to do was not.
That's a whole fact. A whole entire ass fact. If he would have just minded his business, I think he would still be here. It's just my opinion.
Put hands on someone, something that we learned at a very young age. Clearly, because you're such a garbage father, you didn't even teach your son that. You taught him apparently that everyone's a football player. Everyone's a football player. And honestly, if you listen to his words, right? His words was that his son was going to go into glory and fortune. That's what he is saying, essentially, that he was using his son as essentially a check. Damn. I mean, no difference in he's doing right now. Damn. But that's what he was looking to do, because he's talking about, he was going to go, D1, and, he could have been the NFL.
There's no doubt in my mind he was playing D1 football. But, let's just go a step forward. Maybe there's that 1% chance he does get to the NFL. I'm maybe biased because he's my son, but he had the numbers, the stats, and the size.
So all you saw your son was a check. That's all you saw your son to be, was a check. And the more you speak out, the more your evil nature comes to the front. All right. And it's wild to see. It's wild to you just lay your cards just all out for everyone to see. Now, there are going to be people who can deny this, but anyone who can read through the lines, bruh, anyone can see this person and see this person is just a selfish, narcissistic demon. That's it. And we can see this based off of his interaction with his family or lack thereof, based off of Austin Metcalf and his temper, right? Based off of his impulse control, based off of him wanting to start fights, based off of him not being able to keep his hands to himself. Well, the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree.
That's true. That's true.
And we see how much of a snake he can be, but even a snake has to slither, bruh. Even a snake has to slither to get around. You can lie and say you're not a snake, but we can see how you move. Him talking about, he could have gone to the NFL. I didn't make this about race. Just lying. That's all they do. Just lie. Just lie. And who does this benefit? This is the funny part, right? This is the funny part. This is where I get my good hearty laugh. Who does this benefit? It didn't benefit Austin. You being a garbage father, you lying about race, you lying about your true intentions. It didn't benefit Austin. Austin didn't want to have anything to do with you. It didn't benefit Hunter. Hunter clearly doesn't want to have anything to do with you. It didn't benefit the mother. The mother doesn't want to have anything to do with you. And it hasn't benefited you, right? Because eventually this story, the cycle will move on. But I guess you'll get your 15 minutes of fame.
Yep.
And for what? You traded your son for 15 minutes of fame. That's disgusting. That's really disgusting. And anyone who is supporting this man is really appalling. Really appalling. But I know, you already know what the lineage of evil is going to do, right? They try and make good evil and evil good. Anyone who is supporting Carmelo Anthony and his fight for a fair trial, his fight for a fair representation, his fight for his self-defense, now those people are bad. Do you see how they twist it? You see how they twist it? That's why you got to turn a deaf ear to anything they say. Don't even mind them, bruh. Don't even mind them, because we see the wickedness that is in their lineage. We see where they come from. Anyways, guys, that's the video. Let me know what you guys think. Whether or not you still, this racist, how can you support Carmelo? How can you? Or if you believe I can support anyone who has a claim to self-defense and then during a trial is poorly and inadequately represented. Okay, anyone who doesn't want someone who has a claim to self-defense to be properly represented, well, that means you must have some type of bias. Now, I don't know why you would have a bias in a case like this, unless, once again, you're either ignorant or you're racist. Those are only two factors in this case. Those are only two factors historically revolving around a black person and a white person in this country. Always has been, always will.
Yeah, I think he has it. Listen. Found the lie. That's all I'm gonna say. That's found the lie. Ain't no lies told. Ain't no lies told. All right, let's see what they got to say on the Young Turks, honey.
That became the headline in the Carmelo Anthony trial, which was the fact that no black jury member was seated. It's the very thing that can possibly get his conviction overturned. I talked to you about this on day one. His attorney, to his credit. Now, in my opinion, he did not do a great job trying this case, but to his credit, he did object to the jury racial makeup, which preserved the error or potential error for an appeal. And that's where we're headed. All right, I'll put it up full mass. According to Atlanta Black Star, the Texas jury that sentenced Carmelo Anthony to 35 years in prison this month did not include a single black member on the jury. Even though the initial jury pool was made up of almost 600 residents of Collin County, where you have more than 10% of the residents are black. And that judicial decision is where Anthony stands the best chance to successfully appeal this conviction, according to legal experts interviewed directly by Atlanta Black Star. Now, remember, in an appeal has to remedy an error. The error, 9 times out of 10, cannot simply be an error noted. It must be an error that your defense attorney has objected to. And if there's no objection to the judicial error, you may not have the opportunity to preserve that issue for an appeal. So a lot of things are technically appeal worthy, but if the defense attorney did not say objection, Your Honor, it doesn't preserve the appeal later. All right. So this is a different scenario. The attorney did object. Quote, I know during jury selection, the district attorney struck 3 qualified black jurors, said Alexis Hogue-Fajour, a criminal law professor at Brooklyn Law School and a nationally recognized expert on race and the criminal legal system. Quote, and what I mean by 3 qualified black jurors is these were jurors who indicated they could view the evidence impartially. Now, when jury selection takes place, every attorney worth their weight will tell you, you win or lose the case based on the jury. Okay? If you're a real trial lawyer, you know you win or lose the case based on the makeup of the jury. They did preemptive strikes of the black jury members because the prosecutor did not want school teachers or educators to be on the jury. There's more. But the 3 black jury members were rejected because they were educators, which prosecutors argued would make them too biased to serve as qualified jurors in a case stemming from an altercation between 2 high school students on school grounds. The initial jury pool consisted of 589 prospective jurors, which was narrowed to about 250, and then to 18 final jurors, including 12 seated and 6 alternatives. So I want you to understand the ridiculous logic of the prosecutor. Prosecutor says, because they happen to be educators, they do not have the ability to impartially weigh the evidence. That makes 0 sense. 0 sense. They're not educators at the school that either individual, in this case, went to. They don't have a connection to the victim, who's deceased, nor the alleged defendant. They do not have a connection to the school itself.
That's what I was saying from the beginning.
And somehow they would not be able to impartially weigh the evidence. There's no logic to that. The only logic would be if you can prove that they have some type of relationship to the case. That makes sense. But if you do that, it's no longer a preemptive strike. It has to be a strike done based on the merit of each individual and their ability to impartially weigh the evidence. It is unconstitutional to reject jurors based on race, ethnicity, or gender, which is why prosecutors base their rejection of the black women on their occupations and nothing else. However, if it turns out that other non-black jurors were also educators, that would provide the young Mr. Anthony with a solid argument to present to the appellate court. That's according to the legal expert. Quote, I haven't read the transcript, but if any of those 18 people are educators and said they were educators, we know that wasn't a race-neutral decision. That was just pretext, end quote, she said. In every state except one, prosecutors and defense attorneys are allowed to reject jurors through preemptory strikes, which means they do not have to give a reason as long as it is not explicitly based on race, ethnicity, or gender. Opposing attorneys can challenge the strikes, which then requires them to provide a reason for striking the members of the jury preemptively. In this case, the reason was, well, they happen to be school teachers. They're educators. Anthony's lawyer objected under a Batson challenge, which was proper to do, arguing that the prosecutors or the prosecution's preemptory strikes against the 3 black women were unconstitutional, racial discrimination. But the judge rejected the challenge. Okay, so be it. The judge rejected the challenge. I think the challenge was proper, and I believe the preemptive striking of those black women was racially motivated, not because you have individuals who will look at this case with a more sympathetic lens to Mr. Anthony. That is not your legal reason. That is not your moral reason, and that is not your ethical reason. The reason is because all evidence must be weighed through context. All evidence must be weighed through context. A jury member must weigh the evidence based on their personal and professional experiences, exposures, and environment. So context matters. And in this country, your racial makeup creates context culturally. So you may have a different, better, deeper understanding of cultural nuances that others may not. Context matters. This is about fairness. This is still about impartiality. There's more. Had the trial taken place in Arizona, where a preemptive strike is not allowed, prosecutors would have had a much harder time rejecting those 3 Black educators because the state Supreme Court abolished the damn practice.
Mm-mm.
Why did they abolish the practice? They abolished the practice because they found that prosecutors were using preemptive strikes to work around the anti-discrimination rule. That's why.
Damn.
Texas, however, has not banned it, which made it permissible. The defense attorney objected. That means attorneys in Arizona must use concrete, case-specific reasons to reject
Hold on, let's go back because I'm.
members or potential members of a jury.
Oh, please.
Because members or potential, that means attorneys in Arizona must use concrete, defense attorney objected. That means attorneys in Arizona must use concrete, case-specific reasons to reject members or potential members of a jury because the burden is much higher. In Anthony's trial, at least one potential Black juror was rejected because he stated he would, quote, have a hard time putting a brother in jail, end quote. He has to be rejected. He has to be rejected. In fairness, he has to be rejected, which would be allowed in Arizona because that will be evidence that the jury cannot render a fair and impartial verdict according to the state Supreme Court ruling in 2021. No argument with that one. But that was not the case for the 3 Black women who were rejected. So they would have had a much better chance of being selected had the trial taken place in Arizona, possibly changing the outcome. Quote, if the Carmelo Anthony case had been tried in Arizona, a judge probably would have denied the prosecutor's attempt to strike those Black jurors, and those jurors would likely have served, said Benjamin Taylor, civil rights criminal defense attorney from Arizona who has represented multiple Black plaintiffs over the years. And you have to ask the question, what is the judge afraid of? What is the judge afraid of? Okay, judge, this is a gray area. Many states have outlawed the practice, period. It's a high-profile trial. The prosecution is requesting a preemptive strike based on industry. And there's no reason that a school teacher must be impartial. You run the same risk, Your Honor, of a school teacher being more sympathetic to the victim than to the defendant because they're school teachers. Unless you're calculating that a Black school teacher would only be impartial to Mr. Anthony. Now, if the judge is making that calculation, that means the judge is engaged in discrimination. That's what that means.
Yep.
So now you have an objection on record, you have an appealable action because of this rule. What is the judge afraid of once again? Judge, if you don't grant the preemptive, you can still allow the prosecutor to make a case-by-case argument on the direct reason why these individuals cannot serve on this jury impartially. If for some reason their profession disqualifies them, that means that the prosecutor should be able to make a case specific to why to why they should be disqualified. But he did not have to because the judge granted the motion. Taylor, who has been practicing law in Arizona since
Let's just go and look at this judge for a second. Because I can't remember what he said, but I feel like I don't like it. Let's see. Hold on. Why does it keep doing that?
Let me address that specifically is I don't know the Metcalfs. To me, they just generally got it wrong. I mean, and that, let me address that specifically is I don't know the Metcalfs. I have never met the Metcalfs. I have never socialized with the Metcalfs. I would know the Metcalfs if they walked in this, before the trial, if they walked up to me and said hello. And so it's ridiculous. And that's just people trying to drive their agenda and drive something. But you shouldn't do that. Even in social media, if you're going to call yourself a new organization or independent journalist or whatever you want to call yourself, if you're spreading lies, then you're not a journalist. And so
I don't know. Y'all ever heard of a judge giving interviews like this? Why do you care what the public thinks? If you know you did everything within the confines of the law. Unless you're under some sort of pressure, meaning some other judicial process has forced you to talk about this, why are you talking about it? Why do you care what they're saying on social media? Your job is to care about the law and interpret the law, not give a about what's going on social media. It just feels like I'm excited about this. It feels very like smug and like, look at me and look at what I'm doing. And I'm now going to go and put these haters in their place and tell these people, you know, whatever your title is or whatever. It's so smug and just like pretentious as fuck. Like, I can't, but we're going to keep listening to this idiot. Why does this keep happening?
And did my job, organization or independent journalist or whatever, you're trying to drive their agenda and drive something.
Why do you care?
But you shouldn't do that. Trying to drive their agenda.
That proves to me that you've been watching social media. How do you know somebody's trying to drive their agenda? And again, if you was doing your job properly, which is to interpret the law and preside over cases equally and fairly and justly, you wouldn't need to be out here supposedly. Who asked you to come and defend yourself? And if you did your job, why are you defending yourself? But this is my theory. He said something about this is his last big case. You know what I'm saying? Like, it almost feels like I can get my in because it won't even matter. I will no longer be a judge anymore. So since I won't be a judge anymore after this case, meaning I'll have a few more cases, but they won't really matter. They're inconsequential, right? I'm not going to lose my job because I did everything within the quote unquote confines of the law. But we know there's a whole bunch of gray areas, don't we? He has to be found guilty of doing something illegally improper, ethically improper, right? So he doesn't give a shit. That's my opinion. I don't know how to interpret the law, but I'm just telling you my opinion. Someone who isn't watching social media like that, why do they need to come out here and talk about what they're doing ethically or what's happening on social media or anything like that? Why would they need to do that?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You're okay, love. Why do you need to come talk to the people on social media? You're a judge, for crying out loud. Your job is important. I've worked for many years in the court systems with judges, and the ones I worked with, they were serious and you knew what time it was. And I'm not talking about criminal court, but they were so serious. It was like, okay, you in Judge so-and-so court this week, child. Make sure you You going to judge, you going to court 314, bring you a sweater because he's not turning the air up. You gonna be just freezing. You going to court 315, 320, have all your shit together because he playing no games, or she. None of these judges I ever heard of coming online or giving interviews to talk about a case, especially a high profile case. Like, what are we doing here? And I'm supposed to believe that you did this justly and fairly? Sorry, I don't believe it.
That even in social media, if you're going to call yourself a new organization or independent journalist or whatever you want to call yourself, if you're spreading lies, then you're not a journalist. And so I don't know what to do about it. I know what I did about it in this case, which is just ignore.
Y'all think if we took his point and said, I have a feeling he voted for Donald Trump, but let's just stay with me for a second. Y'all think if we asked him, you're not really a president if you're a liar. Presidents aren't supposed to lie. They're supposed to be, overseeing the government of the people, for the people, by the people. No? Y'all think he would say, he would agree that, he's not the president if he's lying to the people all the time. But what he said when he's like, well, if you're out here spreading lies and that means you're not a journalist, that's like saying if a doctor ever, unalives a patient, they're not a doctor. Yes, they are. But doctors unalive people sometimes. It happens. Any journalist worth their salt is going to research and vet whatever source. But if they get something wrong, that doesn't make them not a journalist anymore. But I love how cavalier and like condescending he is, or whatever you're calling yourself. What? How could I hear? I cannot with this idiot. But let's keep listening.
Did my job, but I think long term, then you're not a journalist. So if you're spreading lies, then you're not a journalist. And so I don't know what to do about it. I know what I did about it in this case, which is just ignored them and did my job. But I think long term, that's going to impact people's ability to get the news and get it right and get the truth. And that's sad. And I don't like it, but it's something we're going to have to deal with from now on.
I don't believe one scintilla of what he said. But y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think. Because I don't believe one scintilla of what he said. Let's keep watching.
2005, and is the first Black president of the State Bar of Arizona, also believes Anthony stands a good chance of successfully appealing the case because Black jurors were excluded. Quote, on his face, it looks suspicious. These jurors were educators. They reportedly said they could be fair and impartial, and yet they were struck, end quote. He said he also believes Anthony received a much harsher sentence than other defendants in similar situations. As Atlanta Black Star has noted, quote, 35 years is the type of sentence you might expect for someone with prior felony convictions or a long record, maybe someone older, he said. And I want to add a note to that. 35 years for a murder conviction is typically because someone does have a lengthy record and they engaged in premeditated murder, premeditated malice. There's nothing about this that's premeditated, but there are individuals who are serving sentences lighter than Mr. Anthony for premeditated murder.
Right.
They will be out prior to Mr. Anthony. They would never receive even in a max out of the sentence 35 years. Never would happen. There's more. Quote, by contrast, from what we know, this appears to be Carmelo Anthony's first serious offense. He's relatively young, Taylor continued. Given that 35 years seems extremely harsh, the appellate court will be looking at whether the trial and sentencing were conducted properly, and if that sentence is consistent with how similar cases are handled across Texas and even nationally, he added. Anthony's defense team chose to be sentenced by the jury instead of the judge, which is allowed in Texas, likely believing the jury would have more sympathy. Sympathy. Now, let's zone back out. Once again, this attorney did not do a great job representing Mr. Anthony. Maybe because he believed in the criminal justice system in a way that would be akin to a young white male rather than a young black male. He believed that the jury who just convicted his client would be more sympathetic to the client than the judge would be. That was the call of the defense attorney. There's more. But under Texas law, that decision must be made before the jury is selected, so it's likely his defense team expected at least one black member of the jury. Quote, if they had been allowed to serve, they could have made a difference in the guilt or innocence phase, and at the very least, in the sentencing phase, Taylor said. Quote, if you have black jurors who are more sympathetic to and understanding of Carmelo Anthony's life and background, they might have pushed back on a 35-year sentence, Taylor explained. They could have argued for something closer to what similarly situated defendants received in Texas, or at least brought it up in the conversation. So now you have an appealable issue that was objected to, properly preserved by the defense attorney. Now, it is my hope and it is my recommendation that he is not involved as a leader in the appellate process at all. Appellate law is a completely different kind of law. Money has been raised now. Many outlets are raising money for this defense. I encourage you to vet any of those outlets before contributing. Some have estimated to get started it's going to be well over 100,000. Some say 500,000 for the trial, up to 1 million.
Sorry, I was on mute. My hope is that he gets another trial, that he wins his appeal, he gets another trial, and that he gets a change of venue, and he gets a trial with people who can be more impartial, less biased. Hopefully somebody that's closer to his age, maybe someone who's a parent of a child of color or a person of color, meaning a black person, a black man, a black mom, something. I would prefer a black mom because no black mom wants her child to go to prison. But I don't want it to be based on race. I want it to be based on the evidence. But so that he has even a chance, we need a black mother on that case, on the jury. If he doesn't get that, and or an impeccable attorney, if he don't have a black person on that jury, he going back to prison. And that's a fact. If he gets the wrong black person on the jury, he going back to prison. When I say back to prison, if he's afforded an appeal and they allow him to, make bail or pay for bail or whatever, and he gets set for a new trial and he doesn't have a black person on the jury, he going back to prison. He is. But I feel like he needs two, at least two. I feel like he needs at least two, in case one of them is some self-hating black person that wants to, hold up the black, the who thinks other people are superior. If he gets one of those manosphere types, his fate is sealed as well. So my heart still goes out no matter what the evaluation of the trial was, the outcome of the trial, to the family of the victim. It's always going to go out to them first. But even though my heart goes out to them and it's a tragedy what happened to their son, I also believe that young man was defending himself, and I wholeheartedly believe he did not intend to unalive him. I just don't believe he did. I believe he was trying to get them off of him. When I say them, whoever was attacking him, I believe him when he says, I told them not to put, their hands on me. He put his hands on me. I believe him. I believe he defended himself. And you shouldn't, in the United States of America, be imprisoned for 35 years for defending yourself against someone who physically assaulted you. Y'all can play word games all day long. You can try to Clinton people with words all you want. I never had sexual relations with that woman. You can try to Clinton people with words. Oh, he shoved him. No, he assaulted him. Let's call it what it is. He assaulted him. That's what assault is. The unlawful touching of someone else. Period. That's what it is. So you put your hands on somebody. You put them in fear of their life. You have them surrounded by your friends. You bigger than them. Almost double their size. Yeah, I'm going to have to pick up something. I'm going to have to pick up something and knock your ass out. And if I'm put in that situation, I shouldn't be in prison because you started the shit. You brought this on yourself. Do I think it should have resulted in death? No, but I don't think that young man wanted. He didn't premeditate anything. He didn't say, let me go pick a fight with this guy, and then if he responds to me, I'm going to stab him with a knife. That's not what happened. He was assaulted and he responded in kind. He shouldn't be punished for that. That's why we have laws for self-defense. That's why we got stand your ground in Texas. Anyway, thanks guys for joining me on another episode of Chanel's Reality. I'm Chanel and this is my reality. I want you guys to hit that like button, like up the stream, you know what I'm saying? Get down in the comments, let me know what you think. Do you think he should have gotten these years? Do you think he's gonna get a new trial? Do you think he'll even get an appeal? You know, one thing I don't understand? I can't understand why his parents, Carmelo's parents, were not there at his sentencing. That is $1 million question. No matter whatever side of the aisle you on with regard to this, how do you explain the parents not showing up to the sentencing? What if he was only sentenced to 1 year? What if he was sentenced to time served? He got to call somebody to come get him. That's crazy. You're his parents. I never blame other people other than the perpetrator for whatever happened. But I don't understand how you're not there in the courtroom when this is happening to your child for more support. They about to go. You not going to see them again until you come and visit them. They don't do the whole, oh, let me hug you before you go. Let's take you in the back and let you cry. They don't do that. They booking you immediately. How are you not there to show your support to your son? I don't know how it would be if, my son is fighting for his life in a self-defense case and he turns around and he don't even see you there. Like, make that make sense. Unless there would have to be extenuating circumstances, like someone had called and threatened their life or something. That's the only thing I could see. And if that happened, then I need you to come out immediately and say that's what happened. Anyway, guys, like I said, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed. Like up the stream, share the content, hit the notifications button so you'll know when I go live and when I upload. Talk to you guys later. Bye. Do, 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 do.